Good morning and very warm welcome to all the participants, particularly the delegation from Indonesia. So, some of the participants from India, for their information, PT-PLN is 100% owned by government of Indonesia and also one of the largest utility. In fact, it's the second largest utility in the world after State Grid Corporation of China. And they operate in more than 600 islands. They have more than 80 million customers and almost 100,000 megawatt of power generation capacity. It's a vertically integrated utility with generation, transmission and distribution in all the major islands in Indonesia. Indonesia has more than 16,000 islands. And the smaller islands with less population, those are managed by different ministries. But the all major islands are managed by PT-PLN. So we had the opportunity to, anyway, let me introduce Mr. Eddie. Eddie was the longest serving president of PT-PLN. 12 years he was president of PT-PLN. And after his retirement, he got to know about what the smart grid activities around. And they approached us some years ago, around 2017, they approached us saying that how ISGF was set up, what is the constitution, what is the structure, how it is, and we shared all that information. And under his leadership, he was the founding chairman of PJCI, which is a which is a smart grid association in Indonesia. So, which is very active and working very closely with the PLN and other stakeholders in Indonesia. So, in 2019, PLN wanted a new roadmap, a practical implementable smart grid roadmap for them. A couple of years ago, under an ADB project, some other consulting company had made a very high-level roadmap. But where to start, what to do, 1, 2, 3, 4 steps were not there. It's all very high-level strategy. So, PLN approached ISGF through PJCI that we wanted you to prepare a roadmap, smart grid roadmap, which the University of Indonesia, they were also part of it because PLN could give a contract only to the university on nomination basis, then given to PJCI and ISGF, which we have successfully done by December 2019, which was approved by the board of PLN. So they have a smart grid roadmap. Thereafter, things didn't go quite well because of the new year 2020 in Indonesia started with a big flood in Jakarta. And immediately after that, followed by COVID for 2-3 years. So management change, leadership change. But that roadmap is highly appreciated, what they should do stepwise from 15 years or 20 years roadmap we had given. So thereafter, PJCI had also joined Global Smart Energy Federation as a member. They are still continuing as a member. We had opportunity to work on several areas. They celebrate Electricity Day for the last 50 or 60 years in 20th of October every year. So last year I was there. A couple of years ago, Ravi sir was there. So it's a very high-level discussions with the key stakeholders in the country. So in Indonesia, as you know, is also heavily today dependent on coal, and they have a mandate. They are a signatory to Paris Climate Agreement, and they also want energy transition. So working on different aspects of it, including considering nuclear. I think they have signed some agreement also with nuclear. So we see a lot of collaboration opportunities with Indonesia in the energy transition. A couple of years ago, India, Brazil, Indonesia, we were all focusing on to solar, wind, and so somehow India and Brazil has moved forward. Indonesia remained little slow in the solar part, although they have great potential. So there has to be more policies and programs which can promote solar, which many of your small islands can be 100% solar plus battery. And many of them are today running on diesel DG sets. So it's a huge opportunity in this area where India, we have also done our amount of self-learning. The Andaman Islands, we have so many diesel-powered power plants in Lakshadweep and Andaman Islands, where situation has gone completely uncontrollable when the solar also came in. So now, after several trial and error, things are now stabilizing. Lot of lessons which we did wrong. You don't need to do that. How to have a grid which can be which is currently powered by DG set with the solarization and battery, how it can be integrated both and phase out completely the diesel in a phase-wise. Phasing out of DG sets is something which we are trying, partially successful. And what didn't work is a very great lesson which you would be able to share in the future workshops. This is the first time, although Eddie and his team been coming to ISUW for several years. As a workshop, we are taken this together. And another, for the first time, and another very good example for several countries is smart metering as a service. It has become kind of established now. The utility doesn't pay any money to a smart metering contractor. Government of India giving a 15% grant, or about $10, 900 rupees. It's a grant from Government of India under this program of 250 million meters being replaced with the smart meters, which is indigenously developed in Indian standards, and 93 months monthly payment per meter per month for 93 months. And the amount which is by and large settled is also $1 per meter per month. Our utilities may not be able to buy the right system in AMI because of complexity in meter, in the metrology part, in communication, in system integration, and integrating it with the legacy systems in the utility. It is a tough job. If the AMI has to have its real value, it has to be a metering as a service, engage one capable agency who will come with his own set of ecosystem partners who can install, commission and maintain the metering system for 10 years. Even if a utility have capability internally to do that, the people who are capable will get promoted or retired or transferred. So then that's what we have been seeing with the many systems in the past, particularly with the government utilities. The SCADA DMS, many cities, more than 150 cities we have done. Half of the places it is not working properly because the people who got trained at the time of installation, they got promoted or retired, and the new fellows don't know it. So many towns are there where it's not being used at all after spending millions of dollars for those systems. So anyway, Mr. Kushwaha is here, who had been in UP after retirement from Power Grid Corporation of India for 3 years. You spent in UP. He was load dispatch center. He was the director of the control center of the entire UP. So he will tell the SCADA situation now, how it was and how many cities which you have done. Dominate. So I stop here, and we would like to take this engagement forward. When you talk about the smart metering part, in the last 3 years, although we have installed only 23 million, but the orders have been placed for about 180 million, and balance 70 million is in different stages of award. But when the program will be completed, in 2019 we estimated, other than the irrigation pump set, there are about 250 million smart meters. Today the number has already increased to 320. By the time we finish the programs in 3 or 5 or 7 years down the line, it will be close to 400 million. So I mean that the housing stock is going every day. So more and more buildings, houses being constructed. So if I take the government wanted to complete everything in 2026. I mean, always government give a tough target. Even if you slip by 2-3 years, you reach. So now the expectation is that by 2030, maybe 90% of it will complete, and maybe some states maybe 2-3 years more. So the domestic capability, both in meter manufacturing and other allied equipment and systems capability, is huge. It may not be there in many other countries. So again, at a very modest cost or affordable cost, Indian companies could come do smart metering. And another very important thing is the rooftop solar. The prices have come down so less, and very capable people are there here. So there are inhibitions from distribution company. Rooftop solar will be a problem for their revenue. It will be a problem for their stability, the low voltage system stability and all that. So there are problems, but it's being addressed. So we had targeted 40 gigawatt of the distribution company connected, means rooftop and some small ground mounted systems connected to the distribution grid, about 40 gigawatt, of which we had not done even 10 actually. So then last year Prime Minister out of the blue offered a program or launched a program of 10 million rooftop in 3 years. Almost 70-80% of the money is going as grant from Government of India. And thereafter today we have about 18 million. Sorry, not 18 million, 1.8 million rooftop as we speak. So almost a million has been added in last 1 year. And several states are also giving, in addition to this almost 60-70% grant given by Government of India, state governments are also giving additional grant. And these systems are up to 3 kilowatt, 1 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt, 3 kilowatt, for which government giving a subsidy. And again, domestic production, we don't, 1 or 2 companies only making the cells itself, but the panels, the systems, everything, huge local capacity across the country. So again, there is a great opportunity for cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie, for that introduction to where India was, is, and where is it going. So it'll be a good foundation for discussions. Good morning, everybody. I think it's my privilege to be chairing, but I'm going to ask Eddie, who is heading the Indonesian delegation, to be my co-chair as well. So you're on the hook with me as well. So we also have a special address by Mr. Anshuman Srivastava, the Executive Director of Power Foundation of India, and he will speak his views on certain matters. And then we have 3 themed speakers. Some may come to the podium, some may speak from the mic. And after that, we'll open it up for a kind of a round table, because that is the essence of this meeting, is what can India offer or take, and what can Indonesia offer or take. Yesterday, we had a very long, healthy discussion between Africa and India. And it became very crystal clear as to who wants what and who wants to offer what. I hope, Eddie, today we'll be able to stick that. Eddie and I also are on the Global Smart Energy Federation. He is one of the ambassadors for the East Asia and Asia Pacific, and I look after North America. So we are colleagues there as well. And a lot of experience behind this young man. So with that, what I'm going to ask is, Mr. Srivastava to give his special address. Yeah, please.
First of all, my sincere thanks to this ISGF who has invited me for this forum and invited me for addressing this forum also. So I would like to say some few words from my side as a PFI Executive Director. So the issue is globally the energy landscape is undergoing a profound transformation driven by technological innovation and sustainability imperatives. Advancing at smart grid infrastructure and digitalization are essential for grid modernization. Smart grids are leveraging and digital solutions significantly enhance efficiency and reduce operational losses through real-time monitoring, predictive maintenance, and better demand-side management. The Indian government, through initiatives like the National Smart Grid Mission and the Smart Meter National Program, is focusing on deploying smart meter and modernizing distribution infrastructures. Till date, 13.8 crore smart meters have been deployed in the country. So you can say in a nutshell that Government of India is highly stressing that there should be a national smart grid and we should have smart meters. For that, a lot of investment is being put in for the achieving this goal. For this, there are some schemes are also implemented. They are like IPDS, if you people must be knowing, through which the grant is being given to the DISCOMs, and the smart grid mission is also being implemented by Ministry of Power to all DISCOMs. Equally critical is renewable energy integration and grid resilience. Countries around the world are aggressively expanding renewable energy capacities to combat climate changes. India has set an ambitious target of reaching 500 gigawatt of non-fossil installed capacity by 2030. Integrating solar, wind and hybrid energy sources into existing grids requires robust infrastructure and advanced energy storage technologies. Investments in grid-scale batteries and decentralized microgrid ensure grid stability and resilience, protecting against increasing climate-related disruptions and energy security challenges. Electric mobility and EV ecosystem development represent another significant global shift. Accelerating EV adoption is essential for reduction carbon emission also and dependence on fossil fuel. Worldwide expansion of comprehensive EV charging networks, incentivizing local battery manufacturing and establishing supportive financing mechanisms are vital steps. These efforts are not only address environmental changes but also stimulate economic growth, innovation and job creation across multiple sectors. Finally, achieving these objectives hinges on robust policy and regulatory frameworks. Globally aligned and forward-looking policies are essential for facilitating technology adoption and investment. Effectively, regulatory frameworks must offer clarity, stability, and agility. Strengthening cross-border energy cooperation through aligned regulatory frameworks can drive investments in smart energy projects. Representatives from Indonesia and India can share best practices with each other in this session. I look forward to a thought-provoking discussions on this forum. One thing on personal ground, I would also ask and tell this forum that we are discussing all this thing, but we can also contribute something to the climate, to the environment, or to the. We are talking about electric vehicles for this control of carbon emission and affecting the climate. So I am using my personal car of hybrid model, electric and petrol, and my official car is totally EV. So I will request we should do these things personally also, so that our direct contribution should show. That is my personal purview is also this thing. With this, I thank once again you have invited me and my best wishes for this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Srivastava Saab. At this point, if there are any questions you'd like to ask of Mr. Srivastava before we move on to the rest of the presentation, this is a chance. Otherwise, he has consented to be here with us for the session, so it'll be good stuff. So, but I just thought if anybody really has a question or so. Okay, I sense none. So we'll now move on to the rest of our format. Thank you very much, sir, for your opening remarks. A lot of your points that you've said will be a guidance to all of us, in fact, so I thank you for that. So we have 3 themed presentation. They may choose to use the podium or they may just speak from their chair. That's their choice. So first will be Subhadip Raychaudhuri from Tata Power, Delhi.
Good morning, Namaskar. I am Subhadip Raychaudhuri. I work in Tata Power, Delhi Distribution Limited. Next slide. I work in Tata Power, Delhi Distribution. Tata Power in distribution wing has 7 distribution companies under them. Tata Power Delhi Distribution is one of them. Tata Power Delhi Distribution is structured in this way. We have 51% Tata Power and 49% Government of Delhi. It's a joint venture for the city of Delhi. In city of Delhi, we cater to somewhere around 30% of its consumers. So we started in July 2002 and this is where we stand in March 2024. A lot of rather technical and non-technical losses, and that's the reason why our main focus was reducing it, because there was no profitability in the business. And the bottom line, which we have not written here, if in case you're interested, is profits. We have earned profits all through our journey, and we have also made losses 3 quarters out of 22 years. Losses has happened in 3 quarters out of 22 years. Good service always pays back, and going by the network that we have, the system reliability, we have taken it to where we are. There will be an interesting slide ahead where we will show system reliability, availability index is at 99.9, but it's not enough. Going ahead, Delhi is growing by leaps and bounds. In last 1 year, there has been 11% load growth in Delhi. And further going ahead, looking into that, the length of the network, etc. has increased, and like everyone else, the smart grid index, this is something that we wait for over the years. Starting from bottom, we are at here now. 92 utilities are across 36 countries. If in case you go by marks, we are at number 8. A lot of people are sharing that. We have gone a bit behind in supply reliability. I was just saying, 99.9% availability index is not enough. So looking into that, the reason is largely in supply reliability, my overhead network and HVDS network. That is becoming a bit of a problem. I think Indonesia will like this learnings of us. And along with that, data analytics, smart meter coverage, we have installed 500,000, 520,000 in the terminologies that is used, and our consumers are now 20.8 lakhs, that is 2.08 million. We have got a permission for installing only 7 lakhs, and we have installed 5. So what the expectation of smart grid index is, that as long as your number is not at least 70%, you will always be scoring less here. We will be showing our business cases out there. DR integration, is not picking up to the pace that we like in Delhi. Across India it is, in our Tata Power, other utilities also it is, but this is where we stand. But our monitoring and control and green energy, energy security, customer satisfaction is what keeps us going. The technical journey, as we would like to say over the years, presently let's concentrate on this portion. So Pan-TPDDL, that is our 500 square kilometer area that we have, we are going ahead with AMI, our LV automation. And AMI, we have used multiple technologies. We started with RF, we went to NB-IoT, we also have 4G, and now we are making a technology agnostic NIC, network interface card. If in case that area has 4G to be better, we will use that. If in case it's NB-IoT, we will use that. If in case it's RF, we will not even change the NIC, we will just reprogram it to that extent. Going ahead, EV charging, network maintenance using drone, we have all started this. 25 onwards, the fresh program we will announce in the month of April. That's why, as we have not announced publicly, I'm sorry I could not share with you today. Going ahead, this is, as Indonesia has been described to us, it's the company is an integrated company. So Tata TPCL is also that way. So this is how we stand. Our thermal and hydro generation is somewhere around 9,000 megawatts. Hydro is 880. 443 is out of waste heat. Our T&D, that is our transmission and distribution companies that we have across India, is somewhere around this. And if in case you have a look in evolving generation mix, we are greening. And our targets is by 2045, we will be all green. To the extent possible, we are trying that way. Going ahead, EV charging in India, across India, we have more than 3,700 points, 1650 megawatts of rooftop solar across India. And the future targets in 2027, that is next year itself, we will reach in clean energy 30 gigawatt capacity. That is what we are looking forward to. We will be water neutral in 5 years and zero waste to landfill in that period itself. And carbon net zero will happen by 2045. Coming back to a bit of smart metering, because that is what is one of our foundation technologies that we are working upon presently. These are the cases that we have already installed. Other than reading and billing and connect and disconnect of the consumer, which we feel is important, but not the be-all and end-all of the game, is the data analysis which will take you ahead. Load monitoring, forecasting, DT swapping, you name them, voltage, harmonics. Along with that, we have a few business cases which we feel are important business cases for all utilities. We will show that to you. And revenue protection, AT&C losses, as I was saying, aggregate technical and commercial losses. We are reaching 5% now. As we are reaching 5% now, 94.5% is our billing efficiency now. We will end the year at 5.5% AT&C loss. It's a huge figure if in case you go by our sides, because technical losses we have brought down from 11% to somewhere around 3 under fraction now. IIT Delhi, IIT Dhanbad, these are premier institutes in India, are doing the cross calculation and seeing where we stand. So that 3.x, I am not disclosing the x, but it will be around 0.6, 3.6, that's what we feel. Let's see what the results come out to be. Customer learning, as long as your customer, Mr. Customer is not happy, it doesn't make any sense to do anything. So contact with customer has increased with time, because the days have gone when the customers used to line up. Today, after COVID has been a boon in digitization. I think digitalization is the theme today. Looking into that, getting to customers through multiple ways is what keeps us ticking. And the implemented landscapes through which we serve the consumers at multiple level happens to be SCADA, DMS, OMS, AMR was old, street lighting, smart metering. The government gave us the job of putting up the street lights as well in the smaller lanes, etc. We did that with aplomb. If in case you go ahead, FFA, our FFA is automated. Any guy who goes to site is mapped. If in case he has a problem there, technical problem or crowd, or he needs diversion, we can do all of that online. And if in case he wants help, he pings with the other people around, people come to him at the immediate situation. So this is something that we liked a lot. We have implemented in 2018, way back. And this is something which has developed up to 2021. Government of India has taken this specification of ours. They have put it in RAP-DRP, not wholly or in full measure, but in a substantial amount. What we did is, along with the distribution transformer meters, we put up the DIs and the DOs, digital inputs and the digital outputs. Through digital inputs, what we did is we assess the health of the transformer, the WTI, the oil level, the temperature, if in case it's a dry type transformer, whether the gate has got opened, etc. Looking into that, that report used to go to the back end, and from back end we used to operate through the digital output and trip the breaker, the RMU. Then we saw that it's taking a long time. It's going there, it's coming back, it's not instantaneous. So within the meter itself, we developed the program, tripping goes from the meter itself now. Fast isolation, easiest thing to do. Burnouts, accidents don't happen. In India, we have a problem of oil theft. When oil theft is going on, the oil is coming down, that sensor will trip the transformer, and our team will come with an alarm. The transformer response team, which is on FFA, they will come directly. This automation at TPDDL contact center has been done, and if in case you have a look at it, our CDI score is pretty high. So what we want is Mr. Happy Customer. 94% of our customers are happy. 6% are still needing attention, which we have to develop further upon. So our score is somewhere around 94%. Third party, not internal scores. Looking into that, these are the financial savings which has happened, and this is how we keep on overall in 2017, this is the reason why I put an old slide over here, is because to show the dips that we have had and how we have bounced back. And digitization helped. New regulations came in 2017. We had to adapt to it. Along with that, meter specifications changed, and smart meters were coming in without much rollout till such time. We took a heavy hit at that point of time. We regained 98% by your 2022. And then we are running again the show. Bill printing has reduced to 50% now. After COVID, nobody wants to take the bill anymore. But bill is a live document of your stay there. So when they require, they ask for one. And what we have done now is we have given interactive e-bill. It goes to you on WhatsApp. You take a printout. WhatsApp has become the most connected software as on date. Therefore, on single click, this is something that we do. So for all this, a lot of digitization is required, which we have done. Push towards electric mobility, growth of EV, this is the penetration that we are thinking that everything will increase by 15%. But the main thing which Delhi has done is it has gone in for electricity buses. And electric buses is something that will run the show. This is our power manager, where we take smart meter data and SCADA data and take it to a platform where we go and schedule. The green line and the red line, I think you will have that is our prediction versus actual. This has been developing for a long time, and yes, we like doing this. And intraday management of power, we are power surplus now. This is something that we have introduced this year, rather last financial year, the power distribution network analysis planning. Over here we take data from everywhere. Along with that, one thing. In India, CRGO steel needs central government permission. for purchase because of the manufacturing going huge because of solar and other renewables. So asset swapping is something that we have to do in a very good way. It saves a lot of assets, fresh purchases and capex optimization. Looking into all that, this is where this model has come, load shifting. Everybody does it, but peak shaving. Possible? Done. This is something that Seethapathy sir has been speaking to us for quite some time, but this is where the success has come. The day peaks are all being cut out. But the problem is, with EV stations coming in, the charging goes to the night. How do you cut the night load out? In Delhi, you don't have wind. So, it will need BESS, battery energy storage systems. We will work upon it. And this is a hump that we hate. It is all 30 days charging over here. This is a hump that we hate, but you can't do anything about it. A large bus fleet starts in the morning, in the afternoon, before the shift change, they take a fast charging there. Let's see what we can do about this. This is being managed by the solar power that we have taken now. Otherwise, it would have been more difficult. So business visibility has to increase, and in Tata Power, T&D cluster, we are doing that in a big way. A few slides on that. The key takeaways is big data, integrated security solutions, KPI dashboard, SMRT, that is meter reading, AMI and all of them. We have implemented everywhere. INMS, this is something that we like. It is our integrated network management systems. We have our optical fibers, we have our AMI networks, whatever we have. MPLS networks, all of them are monitored under one integrated NMS in Delhi. Going ahead, in IPMPLS, we had done something which was done only at Ontario Power Corporation before that. And we used Alcatel-Lucent for that, for your line differential on MPLS channels. 2015, it has become the order of day now. Only Tokyo had it, and Ontario Power. After we had implemented, 1 year after that, Cisco and Siemens came up with a white paper. And then it went wild all across India. So the key takeaways are, whatever we are doing now, the journey never ends. That's where we stand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Subhadip. If there are any questions for him at this stage, this would be the best time.
Hello.
Sir.
Thank you. It was nice presentation as always, Subhadip. One question, like smart meter you are utilizing in real sense. What is your output in the sense of network planning, in context of network planning, how you are able to use it? Because you have not gone for 100% smart meter, selectively you have gone, strategically you have gone, I would say. So how you are able to use in your network planning and optimizing the capex on network?
All distribution transformers have smart meters, part 1 done. And if in case you go by energy audit that we do, SL1, SL2, SL3, SL4, SL5, that is from DT to the consumer mapping. If in case you have a consumer there, at that point of consumer there having a smart meter, you take the data directly from him. Otherwise, our meter readers take the data. The best part of it is, you match the load patterns on the basis of DT, because in Delhi, when the network planning was done, HVDS was done. And along with that, LT will be radial is the decision which was taken. So if in case your LT is radial, your 11 kV DT load is the final thing that you will monitor. Now comes your 11 kV network. Feeder metering has become mandate of the day now in India. So, Ansari Sahab is driving all of us crazy for that I want it on all. But along with that, we have introduced something which you will love. It's known as virtual metering. If in case I know this is the customer, segment wise number of consumers under this DT, and this DT does not have a n-1 at LT, it will go along with the DT. Now, So for that, we are developing something. We are not successful because nobody in the world has done it. I don't know why. We call it universal data stream. Networks are made for redundancy. Every day, network will go from one side or the other depending upon your load blockage, etc. So how do you dynamically map the consumers out? That is the challenge. We are doing it for this 2 million consumers in Delhi first, and then we will take it to other parts of India. Because we are offering our MDM services across India now. It's our homegrown MDM now.
Thank you.
Sir.
How much rooftop solar is installed in your area? What I asked, how much solar rooftop is installed in your area?
Rooftop solar is not much over here in Delhi, sir. I will give you the exact figures, but it's somewhere around 7,000 consumers only. If in case you look at the smaller ones. If in case you look at the bigger ones and the MVA capacity, etc., it's somewhere around 35 megawatts now.
Over
the total connection which has been applied is 47, and that's it. 76 total.
Over the period, it may be cumulatively quite high.
In Delhi?
Yeah.
In Delhi, the problem is we have two. If in case you look at it, our Delhi is 30% of Delhi. In that portion of Delhi, it's either your multi-storied buildings or cramped places where your solar is installation itself is a bit of a problem with the land costs. The solar installation which is coming up in a huge way in our part is at the land which was not very, they call it banjar zameen. That is the land which is not very productive. At that part, but all of them are near to the Haryana border. Kanjhawala, Ghevda Sauda, over there, they will be putting up megawatt scale. And then what they will do is the GNM, VNM, group net metering and virtual net metering. Up to 50 megawatts of connection, government has said that you have to give, you will not charge for the system improvement, which we have not. We have reached 49 now, and after that the charges will come. So the growth from 0 to 50 has been swift over the past just 2 years. But as soon as the costs come in of laying a 5-kilometer line, what the response of the market is needs to be seen. Therefore, what you are saying is, we believe that this is a ramp function, but that every ramp function comes with a stabilizing time. Once we cross 50, that is the learning that we are waiting for in our area. I think BACS has been given a bigger target because the percentage is more. If in case you integrate both of them, I think the target is somewhere around 125. So they have not reached 125 yet. BRPL, BYPL, two companies, 50, 75, yes, 125.
Yeah, BRPL is 75, you are right.
Yes, 50, 75.
Just one more question.
Yes, sir.
You have installed one battery storage system long back, I think.
Yes.
So how is that? What is the feedback of that?
The thing is, India is power surplus now. The thing where we have put that portion up was essentially put at that place because of two reasons. Because bigger hospitals were in vicinity, Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Hospital, etc. So therefore, once supply goes, we will be able to give supply to that. But supply doesn't go nowadays in India that way. So what we do is, we discharge it as per the cycle that we have. So therefore, at peak period with so much of solar injections in the grid, we have bought power at 1 rupee 30 paise as well. So that, and when we had bought it, the capacity was huge. But presently, that being said, network capacities will force us to put them up. So we are going in for community storages as well. We will be putting it at 10 stations as well. The reason is the night peak is huge, sir. Delhi is a bimodal curve. It has a day peak and a night peak. And the manner in which we are going, if in case I am not very surprised, our night peak will overtake our day peak maybe in another 10 years. Because industries are all going, na? Practically gone.
Nice presentation, Mr. Subhadip. Just one thing, like you showed us the journey. So all the Delhi discoms, basically, they came from loss levels of 60% to now I think Tata is around 6% or maybe 6.5% or so.
5.6, 5.9 to last year,
5.6%.
yes.
So, even before installation of smart meters, I think you achieved such a remarkable change in the distribution loss levels and even 100% collection efficiency also. So, how do you think a discom like TPDDL, setting means which is having a single digit loss levels and operating at 100% collection efficiency. So, what are the two big key takeaways that should promote a discom like you to have smart meters installed? Because in another states we have seen, for example, we have MP, we have Maharashtra, there is so much of unmetered connections, especially in the agricultural side. So what mode of operandis the discoms there have? They install smart meters in the eligible consumer sites, and the consumers and the meters which are taken out of the system, which still have the useful life left, they are being installed in the agricultural side. So thereby an optimized solution approach covers out. So we just want to know from you, means at such 6% loss levels and 100% collection efficiency, so how you see better place the smart meters to even make your journey far improving?
Sir, I figured 5 questions in what you said. Number 1, what are the business cases beyond billing efficiency, collection efficiency? Let me answer that first. Billing efficiency, collection efficiency were never our targets for putting on smart meters. I have a presentation at part B as well, so I did not put the slides here, but I would like to elaborate upon it. The thing is, it's other business cases which will make the things run. And I will give you just one business case. I have been telling this to Tongia Sahab for ages. Tongia Sahab said India will mature to that level. You will have to hold your peace. But the thing is, our calculation says 10 minutes of power supply saved means 10 minutes your meter is running. Your entire cost will come back in just 10 minutes. Not per day, per consumer per annum. Unserved energy that you have, you buy power at a cost, you sell it at a cost. So it is a cost minus ARR and the margin that has been built upon it on which you run. If in case you are not serving a consumer, that means you are still paying the cost. So 10 minutes of power not being served per consumer per annum is enough to bring back the money. I hope you understand the business case of the DT meters now. The load forecasting each pocket wise. What are the reasons that you cannot give power to a consumer? Either your lines are not ready, or you have not bought power, or your transformer is not capable. Network design. Job is done. That has been implemented, sir. I say it with great happiness. So your first question has been answered. And answering second question of yours, that is connect, disconnect, reading, billing. If that is the business case, what will others do? So what Tongia Sahab had told me ages back, that is you will have to hold your peace. Once they get that satisfaction out, you tell me one thing, sir, then they will move on to this. This year, government was asking for universal HES and universal NIC. Universal HES has been published, and I think our recommendations have been duly regarded and respected, and thanks has also been given. Universal NIC is something that is still miles away. And as sir was saying, it will only come in the resale market. I understand that. But we are starting to utilize it now, because our meters are already 7-8 years old. 10 years of life now, 10 to 15 years. So, and RF installation is in pockets. You can't play around, tinker around with it. So that's how the things are. I think I have answered your second question. There was another question that you had posed. What about the agricultural meters? You see, agricultural meters are not in the purview presently. And in agriculture, if I know correctly, there are pay as per frame size of your Tata, Tota, water pump, what you call it, is still there in a few states. So looking into that, first you will have to bring it on board and do the things there. Last question which I will take, there were other questions as well. Last question, why you are a single digit utility, and when you started you were already around 12%, 13%, if not lesser. The first, by the time 2018 regulations came up, we were already single digit AT&C loss. So it was never our business case of putting things in. I hope I have answered your queries.
Basically,
Any further?
Consumer satisfaction is basically the...
Consumer satisfaction, actually, how you measure consumer satisfaction? If in case a consumer gets, we have in our own slide for that, I'm not showing it here because for consumer satisfaction, community wants something. The individual consumer wants something, the regulator wants something. What does the community want? Community wants safe supply. Available supply 24/7 so that when my girl comes back from college, the street light is on. When my husband goes to office on the foggy mornings, he has adequate lighting. This is what the community wants. So, street light is not an electricity distribution job, but electricity has to be available and you will have to address that. We're trying to do that, sir, with the mandate that we have. So therefore, this is what the community wants. What does an individual consumer want? Supply on demand. I switch it on, supply has to be there. Number one. Along with that, right bill at the right time. A lowly consumer does not want anything more from you, sir. Once that is done, comes with net metering coming in and the regulations coming in, the consumer's demands will graduate to another level. And speaking about agriculture, we have a huge backlash at places where we have more, agricultural consumers.
Unmetered agriculture.
Metered agriculture. In those pockets, unmetered, well, that's another story altogether. But the saving races, first time in 2018 when they had put up smart meters somewhere, I will not name it, their MD had told it to me in confidentiality. 35% meters were found to be fast. So we had a quality issue back then in India, which is largely resolved now. And speaking about Delhi, we have only 5045 agricultural connections. Only 5045, practically nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Subhadip. Our next presenter is going to be Mr. Pramod Mishra from BRPL.
Hello. Thank you so much. Good morning again all, and respected chair and Ravi sir, Eddie Saab from Indonesia, and other dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. I'll not take you towards the BSES journey. Generally, in Delhi, 3 discoms are operating, 3 private discoms are operating, and the journey is largely the same. So, as during the discussion of Subhadip, it has come out that Delhi has already reached up the level of about 6% AT&C losses. And generally, the technical loss out of that 6% is about 5%. So, 1% commercial loss still remains. And that is in some pockets. On Kushwaha's question, how much solar we have? So about 140 megawatt of solar is already installed, rooftop solar I'm specifically saying. And BSES discoms were the one who has promoted solar rooftop. Actually, Earlier, the DISCOM was saying it as like eating our pie. Someone is eating our pie as a business case, but BSES DISCOMs has done roadshow. It has come to the RWS and promoted and said that you install the rooftop solar. Because we had vision, we understood that any energy generated and consumed locally will benefit all, not only consumer but DISCOM as well. So with that thing, and another thing it has come up during the discussion of Subhadip. I'm just clarifying this so that I can move forward with the base. We have meter at every distribution transformers. Some of the consumers also have a smart meter. So we have all the data till distribution transformer and selected meter data for consumer. But we don't have data for LT feeders. So for example, if a BRPL we take 1750 HT feeders, all are smart metered feeders. We have 10,800 distribution transformer meters, all AMR enabled. But at the same time, we have 40,000 LT feeders as well. And we don't have measurement of any data of LT feeders. And same is the case with any utility in India, probably world. But the problems and larger problem comes with the LT feeder, not with the HT feeders, because you have almost n-1 at all HT feeder level, but not at LT feeder level. So localized outage are contributing more fault, more outage than the upstream fault. What we have done as a simplest thing, because we have not done any smart thing on this LT feeder monitoring, but what we have done, we have given clip-on meter to every line person. And we have said that at least once in a quarter, any time of the day, you take the reading, rest thing AI will do. So when we have historical data of all 40,000 LT feeders, we are able to project at the time of peak how it will behave. Otherwise, the alternate was that calculate the DT peak divided by number of feeder is the LT feeder loading. That sometimes does not work. And you come to know when it is overloaded only. And that is only in the mid of summer. So these small things brings larger results on the ground level, and it brings supply reliability to the customers. And we have seen whatever is simplified, that generally works, because distribution utility is a kind of complex business, as I understand. And in this complex business, taking anything forward have very high inertia. So in this high inertia business, if things are simplified, then only it is sustained and it worked on larger scale. With this background, I'll proceed with my presentation. I'll not cover the company profile. As you have our Indian counterpart, everyone knows BSES and Tata. And Indonesia have seen Tata presentation. It's you can say same for BSES, Rajdhani and Yamuna. Where I should point out? Please help me. Yeah, this way. It has lag. Good. So I'm Pramod Mishra. I'm looking after distribution planning and engineering in BSES Rajdhani Power Limited. BSES Rajdhani is one of 3 private DISCOMs in Delhi. BSES, both DISCOM Rajdhani and Yamuna together distributes 2/3 of Delhi. It is south, west, central and east Delhi. We have together about 5 million customers, and our peak demand is about 5,500 megawatt together. We are growing in South and West Delhi. BRPL is growing at the rate of 6% on peak demand, and same is number of customers. In recent past, post-COVID, we have seen the surge in demand in some of the pockets, especially the West Delhi pockets. We have seen surge in demand, and those have posed some of the challenges in terms of meeting the demand. At the same time, capacity utilization of assets. So there is requirement of higher capex to meet those peak year demand. So in this context, RE context, we all know that India is poised to take this RE journey forward. And in this RE journey, we have some of the challenges. At the same time, those challenges are now seen as opportunities, and we are able to realize those opportunities in real sense. I'll give you few practical implemented solutions which our Indonesian counterpart may have tried, I don't know, but if not, then that can be implemented, and those are the easy ones, and it can be implemented easily. So group net metering, we know on this has very high potential, and it is now people and customer has realized that this can be implemented without very much hassle. Another is virtual net metering, and most of the commercial establishment, those are having high average billing rate or high tariff, are going for it. In BRPL area, we are not reached to the level of 75 megawatt, that is the basic kitty. And reason behind that is because where the customer demand this megawatt scale solar generation, these are far from our network. Those are on the bordering Haryana area. From there, our grid is almost 7 to 10 kilometers. Laying line for 10 kilometers is a costly affair. We are doing wherever possible, because in those areas there is no load. So we have to transport all that power to 10 kilometer away grid. At the same time, on HT level, on 11 kV level. For 11 kV level on cable, there is limitation of transporting power per cable. So we have studied, and it is of the order of less than 2 megawatt per feeder. So for every 2 megawatt, you have to lay 10 kilometers of cable, and every kilometer of cable costs you about 50 to 60 lakhs, means 5 million Indian rupees. So that is very high cost to the utility, because utility is already striving for capex to other projects, other existing customers. But yes, as per regulatory framework, wherever possible, we are going ahead. Wherever network is not there, we are laying, and we are facilitating these megawatt scale generation. Agro-voltaic generation is another thing which is live in West Delhi. If our friend from Indonesia have time, it is good to see and see those farms, agro-voltaic farm of 4 megawatt, 5 megawatt in West Delhi. This has been phenomenal. I mean, that is the best example of dual usage of the land. So what is the challenge? Megawatt scale, we have a high capex challenge, and another thing we have seen in the HVDFs, we also have 28,500 small transformer of 25 kVA, which has been installed with the basic reason to provide electricity to curtail theft at somewhere in 2007-8. Himanshu sir knows that. So now in that area, the rooftop solar evacuation requires 3-phase voltage. For that, you have to have a duplicate line. You have to construct the new lines. Those are the challenges. We are meeting somehow, but that is the challenge with the evacuation. Utility has anchored this RISCO model, and it is working well, and it is through website. So all those TF for the rooftop solar is almost automated, and it is, I would say, hassle-free now. These are the number as of 31st March. BSS has installed 160 megawatt, BRPL 128 megawatt, and BYPL 38 megawatt of rooftop solar. Number-wise, 6,450. What we have seen as another challenge is grids are loaded, and we don't have space for installation of more grids, or the kind of requirement we have, we are not able to get space for installation of that. On top of it, our assets are loaded only 47% of the time. So the peak versus average is only 47%. So 53% of the time the capacity is underutilized. So if we can address through some means those peaks, then the requirement of thermal upgrade will be less. And with this philosophy, we are adopting battery storage system in distributed way. So we are going at all level, at distribution transformer level, at grid level, and we'll see in this scenario there are two situations. These are the live data. So projected load for one of the substation at STU grid, STU here is DTL, will be about 97%. and discom grid in the same location is 64%. So in the first scenario, it is going to be a problem in 2025 at the STU level. And discom grid is also approaching to the thermal upgrade requirements. What we have done, it is in the commissioning phase. By 31st of March, it will be commissioned. So we are installing 20 megawatt to our battery storage at Kilokri in South Delhi. This will not only provide our relief to discom for at least 4 to 5 years. So the 64% will come down to 48% in 25, and it will also relieve the STU grid. So the urgent thermal upgrade requirement at STU can also see some relief for 1 year or 2 year planning period. So we are strategically utilizing this battery storage to meet or to improve the load factor, at the same time take the benefit of arbitrage. Somehow this graph look like this. You can see the peak year part of the load is transferred to off-peak times. Similar is the use case at battery storage at distribution transformer level. So the distribution transformer requires almost nowadays upgrade every 3 years or 4 years, because you have certain capacity that have growth of 6 to 8%, and every 3 to 4 years you need to have the higher capacity or add some capacity to it. So with that you have like if you have 630 kVA transformer overloaded, next available is 1000 kVA. So 1000 will be like not fully utilized on first year, but maybe fourth year it is fully utilized. We have alternate solution to this. We have like modular battery storage attached to those DTs, and that can be used during those peak hours. So with this, we can defer our capex for 5 to 6 years. That we have implemented at locations with customized size of battery and the operation, customized operation of those batteries. These are the kind of graphs you see. This is the price curve. At the time when the price is peak, we are actually discharging the battery in the night and during the day, and we are charging the battery when this price is the lowest. We have also understood that the lowest point or the lowest in the network, if you install the battery or battery storage, the higher benefit you get. So we are now focusing at if it can be done at the consumer end, that will be the best. Like power factor compensation, when you provide at consumer's premise, that is the best. You get the best utilization of the network. So we are focusing everywhere, wherever is the possibility, but this is the best place to have the battery storage. We try to understand some of the similarity with Indonesia, and we find that in EV things, we are moving together, and that is the interesting thing. We have seen that EV adoption in India is like accelerating every year, and Delhi being the capital city, it is also has seen in 2024 that 46% of EV consumption, 446 gigawatt hour recorded in Delhi. So Delhi is leading the show in EV, and with the new models coming up, this thing is going to accelerate further. Delhi has also taken conversion of about 11,000 CNG buses to electric buses. And this journey started about 2 years back, and it is going to complete in next 2 years. About 100 megawatt of e-bus load is already there. It is started using. And now another 400 will come, by total 500 will come in 2 years. That is going to be additional to the grid, and this will have this will pose some challenge to the DISCOM. At the same time, we have some opportunity we'll see in the subsequent slide. These are some of the things you can see on the EV charging stations, and this is a station on the garbage land. It has been prepared, and this is only on the pavement, and these are some of the swapping stations. By the way, these bikes are now very popular in Delhi with the swapping facility. So swapping is now real in Delhi. And if you have chance to see this swapping station, you go and see that within 2 minutes, all this swapping process is over. So that the kind of efficiency and the popularity EV has got. This is one of the portal we provide to our we call business partner who intend to set up some public charging station. So they can see that from their locality, if they put their locality here on our website, they can find out what is the kind of loading of our transformer in the vicinity and how much capacity in the transformer is available for further load. So customer can themselves check the feasibility, technical feasibility of putting up charger for how much capacity they want to have. So this we want to show that because the technical feasibility is one of the things which is generally the problem for any installation of EV charging. We have studied this curve for 3 live depot in recent past. So these are the challenges. These are like our Delhi peak, night peak, day peak, and the EV load is also coinciding with that. So we have seen that 500 megawatt of e-bus is going to be within 2 years. So that will add to our peak, already around 9,000. This 500 will add to that 9,000. So that is the bigger challenge. But at the same time, we are discussing with the Transport Ministry that if this can be shifted to at least 1 hour or 1.5 hours. And if not, then there is another solution to it. And that solution is we are doing pilot with the Smart Grid, India Smart Grid Forum, 3 DISCOMs of Delhi on V2G, vehicle to grid. So these all DTC buses together have capacity, battery capacity of 2,500 megawatt hour. So this is a huge capacity. Even if we can harness 10% of it, the residual part of it, during our peak time, this will have huge impact on our peak saving part. So this while 500 megawatt is a big load to us, but that comes with the kind of source also to us. But it is now time to harness that. Technology is getting mature. And we have seen the this V2G demo. It is available in this hotel. I invite you to see this flow, bidirectional flow of energy, 10-12 kilowatt in our existing EV. We want to just see this as a case study because slight change in the approach saves a lot of cost, lot of land, because land and space is very scarce in Delhi or any metro city per se. So we have done slight change in the approach. Like when this DTC or Delhi Transport Corporation electrification came to us, it says, regulation says that for every 4 MVA and above, you have to give the connection on 33 and 66 kV, wherever the network is. And for setting up 33 and 66 kV, you have to have the switching station, and you have to have grid, step down, and then 11 kV switches and all. What we have done is we have combined 2-3 locations in the vicinity, and then installed one big grid at one place, and the connected whole network through 11 kV. So that saved about 95 crores, means Indian rupees, and space of about 3,400 for one set of 3 locations. And this is of the order of 73% less land and 70% less money. So this is the kind of change in approach sometimes works, and this is dearer to the government and also brings flexibility to the utility. To sum up, so RE in EV is going to be the reality. It has been challenged. Now it is coming as an opportunity for the utility. Cooperation, utility, and the operator, all 3, like bus operator, transport department, and utility, if they work together, all will have win-win situations in EV adoption. And that we have seen. In fact, if utility given to have the maintenance of the electrical network, it will be cheaper to the transport department or the operator, because they already have the complete setup, inventory, everything with them. So this will be just additional network for them. So, and base we are using as a substitute to the thermal capacity addition so that we have higher load factor, higher reliability, and better arbitrage. Thank you.
If there are any questions for Mr. Mishra, this is the best time.
I just wanted to ask, you are telling, you as well as Tata Power, both of you are telling that Delhi AT&C losses are 6%. So, in Delhi, there is a socio-economic condition, it varies from different directions. So, whether the East Delhi area and South Delhi, West Delhi, they are uniform AT&C losses percentage and collection efficiency, uniform, same or different?
Yeah.
So can you please give me the first of all data, then I will ask second question.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you, Srivastava, sir. Yes, almost the similar level, but yes, bit difference. Like if you take RK Puram Hojkhas as a like one of the district, so it has got about 3.5% losses, not 6%, 3.5% losses. If you talk of Nehru Place, it has near to 3% losses because it is high-rise building. But if you talk of Najafgarh, maybe 14% losses. If you take some of the village pocket, one of the village very 500, 600 customer, it may be 10% as well. East Delhi, when you said it may have some pocket have 8% losses as well. So, but the weightage of those pockets are less. And there also loss are reducing very fast because now only few pockets, few transformers, in fact, we say that as we do an energy audit, only few transformers have losses in double digits. And all effort, all resources, all enforcement drive is towards that, those transformers. So that is also going to come down maybe within this year.
Because why am I asking this question? Because Delhi is a metro city, and but other states like UP and Bihar, the big states where small towns are there, so their collection is a big problem, and so losses are high, and collection is it is a big problem for discoms. So have you made any model for that so that it can be implemented in those states also, so that those discoms can be benefited?
Yeah, thank you for asking, sir. Actually, if you see why collection are less, it has two major problems. First problem is the billing quality. If you bill garbage, then there is chances of lesser collection. And it is generally the case. If you want to match or enhance the billing efficiency, and if you do average billing, provisional billing, then the collection will be less. That is the major reason for lesser collection. Another thing is obviously the paying capacity, how you reach, if you are able to deliver the bill or not. Delhi per se, if you say last 10 years, all the three discoms are maintaining 100% collection efficiency. Why? Because since 2006-07, we are downloading 100% meters. So if you talk of downloaded or meter data today with the smart meter, we are downloading since 2006-08. So we have data of about more than 15 years with us for every meter, every consumer, every month. And those data are being utilized for billing. So there is error-free billing because there is no human intervention. For meter replacement, because that gives you the pattern if the meter is faulty or not. For the network planning, because sometimes you find that consumer have complaint of low voltage, high voltage, but since you are downloading the meter for 15 years, you know which consumer or which cluster of consumer is having low voltage problem or high voltage problem. Those are the things which smart meter is thinking to derive today. We are getting benefits some 15 years back, since 15 years back. For states, if they have correct billing, I think the chances of getting collection is higher. And for other measures like recovery measures, if you have like SMS, sending SMS to every customer wherever mobile is there, reminders, WhatsApp, all those facility to pay those bills, links to pay those bills, that sometimes
So my
works.
need is, can you prepare a model and give it to us so that we can share it with discoms of states? As a PFI, we are supposed to assist the Ministry of Power and the country as a whole for DISCOM as well as GenCos and TransCos. So it will be helpful for us. That is why I am asking you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for asking. And BSS has always been whatever could be done for the nation and the service to the society, they are always forefront. We can discuss with you, and if wherever there is possibility of collaboration, we are always.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There was a question here from the Indonesian delegation.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of peak saving, because you are mentioning about V2G, is it already commercial or still piloting in?
We are
Delhi?
piloting. We are piloting, and it is being showcased in this location. You can see the transfer of data. It is
Okay.
in pilot.
Okay, how is effective the peak saving for V2G, actually for the piloting?
If it is implemented, I think it will be a game changer. I think we will have virtual power and mobile powerhouse. So it can be implemented anywhere and everywhere. So today, if my DT fails, I put a mobile DT near to the DT. But tomorrow, if the DT fails, I put a car near to the DT and energize my customer. So that is the potential it has, and we look forward to it.
Okay.
Yes, it is in pilot state. Pilot is like successful, and now it is to the commercial fitment of this such kit into the car or the EVs, because it is presently outside the vehicle. It is retrofitted. It is not a part of the normal EV what it has come from the OEM. But as it progresses, we have seen we are doing it with the Delaware University and New Way. And we have seen last year in US that Ford is also coming up with same. Some other models are coming up. So we are hopeful that in times to come, it will be part of the normal EV and it will be inside the normal EV.
Okay. Does the piloting is the preparation for the virtual power plant ecosystem? Because if we see in US, in Australia, they already have like some customer participation. Yeah. So is it like as a journey to have some virtual power plant in the system?
Yes, possible, because you see today rooftop is already, a customer is already supplying power to us, and tomorrow the EV will also supply power to us, and that is a welcome move, because you know, if my peak problem is solved, then my cost of network will go down drastically, because my overall network planning is to meet the peak.
Okay. For that case, like for V2G or peak saving will be handled by the utility or like you will hand over to private?
You see, I think there will be some aggregator, some distribution DSO, who will be like intermediary, because utility cannot, interface with every small customers. So there will be largely, as in other countries it is happening, there will be intermediary who will be aggregator of those load and whatever is declared by the customers, and they will finally aggregate to us or utility.
Okay, thank you.
There's a follow-up, I think, Rahul.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Kumar, you'll get to it.
Just a follow-up. I mean, very important question. Now, the observation from US at least, I don't know Australia so well, is a lot of people who have a V2G capability, like the Ford most popular vehicle sold in the US, Ford F-150 or F-100. They have a V2G capability in the Lightning electric version. It is sold as a resilience tool to homeowners, that if there's a power outage, like storms, a lot of the East Coast in the US has hurricane season and storms. That is the driver as opposed to the economic energy arbitrage. So it's still unclear because A, there is still a premium. Let's not, I mean, in a room, let's be very frank, there's a premium. The use case is not entirely there without doing some special math. And second, this is a question for the whole larger ecosystem, including the manufacturers. Will, in this particular case, they are touting V2G, but are they touting it as a daily usage? What does that do to your warranty? Because certain other manufacturers who have EVs have said if you actually use more than this many cycles, it will void your warranty. So that's another important thing, that there's a policy.
So that is why this V2G has become V2H, V2X as a new definition, because this question has been on for the last 15 years with the OEMs. It is still not clear that they get an electric vehicle with their battery, chances are they're not going to let you cycle. If you get an electric vehicle with a third-party battery that is going to take ownership of that over the life, maybe you will have a chance. So this debate is still going on.
I just wanted to flag that.
Thanks. Before Nick, Mr. Kushwaha is waiting for me. We are running a little late, so we need to be move on in quick. Yeah.
What I want to know, your presentation has given is excellent performance of both the BCS as well as Tata. And in fact, wherever I meet anyone, I from Discom, I always suggest to visit Delhi.
Thank you,
to
sir.
see what they're being done, and then especially in UP where I worked for 3 years. See, my question is that if the Delhi distribution companies are compared with Mumbai or some other private distribution company, where do you stand comparatively?
I think all these private discom, either you compare with Mumbai or maybe the Ahmedabad, they all are comparable, because everyone is doing what is the best in the market. And because of metro area, so everyone have similar expectation from the customer. So if you say on most of the parameter, all are operating at similar level. We had done some benchmarking exercise across the discoms or high performing discom, and we have shown that as one notch here and there, everyone is doing similar way.
Thank you. Just to
Discom's technical loss is
lower. And maybe it's because of the geography of the city.
No, it is because of the customer profile, sir, because
Historical reasons. Yeah.
Okay.
There are historical reasons as well.
Just to share with you, sir, like even Gujarat Discoms, if we talk Torrent, Ahmedabad, Torrent, Surat, they are operating at 3 to 4. So as he suggested, there are different reasons. As he told, there are still some high theft prone zones in Delhi, which are operating still at 11%, 12% loss levels.
46% in one village roughly.
So aggregating all such things, still if they are operating at 6 to 7% loss levels, so that is a remarkable journey coming from 55 to 6.
Plus, sir, one aspect in Delhi is very particular, especially in South and East Delhi, is we have mostly or dominantly domestic consumer. So most of the consumer is on LT, and that too less than 5 kilowatt of load. So that brings the technical loss to the highest. In like Torrent case, you will see the higher sale is on high voltage. So 50-50 kind of sale in high voltage level. But whereas in Delhi, about 65% sale is to domestic. So that is also the reason of higher technical losses.
Nick, you get the last chance here. Very, very quick. You had a question as well?
No, just to add to sir's
if
request.
you can hold the question, perhaps, as we are running really, really late.
Just an input, an input. So REC has done the ratings for all the discounts.
See,
so
Delhi India part, let us
high.
not discuss here. We have Indonesian people here. We should be discussing the Indonesian issue. Nick, you get the last chance.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, with the V2G aspect, right, especially on the battery discussion.
No, he is from ESCOM, South Africa.
Oh, yeah, sorry, apologies. My name is Nick Singh. I'm from ESCOM, South Africa. Hi, Eddie. So, when we talk about V2G capability and the amount of energy that's going to be pulled from these cars, right, I think that discussion on the warranties on the batteries needs to be rediscussed with the OEMs, right? I'll give you an example. Your electric motors are pulling higher kilowatts than what the V2G is actually taking, right? So if you look at the high performance cars, the Jaguar's got 150 kilowatts of electric motors in it, right? Its V2G capability is about 13 kilowatts. You understand? So it's really, it should more be about the warranty in terms of years of the battery, right? And if you look at any other battery energy manufacturer, they don't talk kilometers, they'll talk you years, So I think that needs to be the narrative. It needs to change. And if you can argue that you're only pulling a 13 kilowatt load, I could drive my car flat out, 150 kilowatts every second. I'm going to probably do more damage to that battery than V2G. And that discussion needs to happen, I think. We need to get to that point.
Completely in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra. We have Rahul Tongia next. So, Rahul.
Thank you, Ravi. Of course, all of India, unfortunately, is not like Delhi. But there's certainly, what India has is heterogeneity. And that's one of the themes I will talk about, because Indonesia, obviously, Jakarta versus the islands, that's a severe challenge, even though institutionally it's still more centralized compared to India. But on a physical level, Indonesia, in fact, has higher heterogeneity. So, let me close that. Yeah. I'm Rahul Tongia, a scholar, researcher, professor, advisor. So I'm founding advisor of ISGF. I had helped set it up in 2009-10. Everything from the cabinet down, a lot of efforts. My day job is with a think tank. We one of India's leading nonprofit. But I also am an adjunct professor at Carnegie Mellon and was on the technology advisory board for Southern California Edison with their award-winning smart grid rollout 2005 to 2008. So I've been involved with the California design and learnings. So there's some international experience, but also Indian, that I wanted to share. And if it's all right, I will just stay here. I'm choosing not to use a PowerPoint because I hope we can have an interaction and a conversation. Partly because I'm going to share my bias, and everybody has a bias. I don't think anybody knows the right answer. There is no right answer to these policy choices and issues that we're grappling with. Partly because we're asking both to do something that has never been done before. Both Indonesia and India are actually relatively similar in many ways. Slight differences, of course, are there, but we are fossil fuel heavy countries as of now, and we have a huge amount of demand growth ahead of us. Our per capita consumptions are both within 10% of each other, 1,200-1,300 sort of range. So there are a lot of similarities, and I always joke, if someone says that they have the answer, because we're trying to decarbonize and be equitable and be viable economically, cheap power, and do it within 10, 15 years, especially if you believe the Paris Agreement requirements. Never been done before. So if someone says, I know the answer, they're either unaware or trying to sell you something. So I'll just share a few points. I have a point, but, and please, share your reactions as a conversation even throughout, because I'm not going to give you any data. You know your system better than anyone else on earth, but more than that, data and stuff is available. It's really some insights I want to try and share, some learnings as an academic, as someone involved in this space. I'll open with something a little more macro and aggregate than what we've heard, which is important at a technology level. But the real magic is trying to bring together that top-down and bottom-up into alignment. And unfortunately, on this day and age, that top-down, the geostrategic and global choices are dominant. They are elephant, dragon, tiger, or I don't know, cowboy in the room. And the geostrategic, and your Indonesia's climate envoy, January this year, has sort of questioned the Paris Agreement and said, does it still make sense for Indonesia? India hasn't made that public, but everyone is questioning global norms, global order. So we live in, quote, interesting times. So there's a lot of churn. But all churn and change are also opportunities for us to rethink how we look at our power systems, how we look at our energy systems. Indonesia, of course, was one of the early countries to think of JETPs, the Just Energy Transition Partnership. And we all know why they had limitations. It's not just that the money is late, which is obviously bad enough, but the expectations, time frames, and in my view, lack of clear alternatives. It's very easy to tell somebody, don't do X. It's a lot harder to tell them, what do you do instead? And that's one of the challenges Indonesia and India are facing somewhat equally. Correct me if I'm wrong, The Paris Pledge was a continuation from Indonesia for the 2009 voluntary statements given earlier of an absolute reduction in emissions by 2030. Not a relative emissions improvement, but an absolute reduction. And as a neutral scholar, I would sort of be very cautious of such a bold ambition without some context or normalization, because if your energy is still growing, per capita is less than half the world average for both Indonesia and India, much less than half the world average. Growth is inevitable, more so because we're going to have electricity growing in importance as we decarbonize the rest of the economy, be it mobility, be it industry. Of course, India and Indonesia don't have as much heating requirement, so unlike Europe, that's not the driver. Indonesia, I believe, had an ambition to have 23% renewable by 2025, which is a very ambitious target, but I don't think it's happened.
Well, let me explain a bit about that because I'm involved.
Yeah, thank
As
you.
a member of the National Energy Board at that time, during that exercise, we have in the pipeline 6,600 megawatt project for hydro and geothermal, which was planned in 2009, and unfortunately by 2015 I realized that those 6,600 megawatt will not be achieved. Until today we only achieved around 2,000 megawatt. So that's the reason why I've helped found smart grid initiative, because we know by that time that we will have to rely upon intermittent power source. Yeah.
Thank you. And so these are difficult. So the first sort of observation is, I'm going to keep these short topics so we can interact around them. One, we have multiple transitions underway. Everyone talks about decarbonization, but there's also digitalization, there's decentralization, 3 Ds. But there's also now changes in regulatory and market structures. So that is where India was in some ways ahead by developing country standards, but that also has not gone to its logical conclusion of full private participation either. In both countries, of course, generation was the early space for the private sector to participate. Now, energy policy in one word, if I have to choose, is about trade-offs. We know what is the well-known energy trilemma: cost, environment, and security. I prefer a slightly different phrase for how we may think of it, which is from the IT world, where someone has said cheaper, faster, better. Pick any two. Because you can get even 2 out of 3, but the better is environment, it's jobs, it's security, it's resilience, choice, all of the above. So there's multiple objective functions. So first, we agree there's going to be growth. Second, as well known, Indonesia is a fossil fuel rich country, which is good in many ways. In fact, India is a beneficiary. Indonesia exports, especially coal. And unlike hydro is still relatively strong, stronger in India, but in terms of its renewable share, hydro is the highest by far, followed by biomass in Indonesia. Unlike India, India has had enormous success with solar, a little bit, reasonable with wind, but not as much wind growth. So for Indonesia, one of the questions, does it mean wind would have to be offshore? Because when I read or talk to colleagues, is offshore the way they look at wind for Indonesia? Yeah.
Okay, so if we talk about the VRE Indonesia, we have two. First, wind and solar. For wind is site specific because mostly is potential resource is in eastern part of Indonesia. So we have like 2 wind farm right now in South Sulawesi, Sidrap Bijane Ponto, total of what 120, 130
Very small total.
megawatt. Yeah, small part. And the other part is going to develop in South Kalimantan. It's still under progress. So for wind is site-specific location. And I think so far we don't have a plan for offshore wind. But for solar, since that we are blessed with the equator lines, so we have potential radiation 4.8 watt-hour meter per acre per meter. So I think so that's why that we are going to build more solar. And from the case that lesson learned that we already built the Cirata floating PV is usually like 145 is already commercial like last year, and we are going to build the in close with the hydroelectric plant because we have a dams, so we optimize our dams to be floating. As right now is going to build in the other hydroelectric plant with using our asset, and hopefully that based on our planning that we are going to build more about 28 gigawatt until 2040. So that's right that for wind is site specific, but for solar I think is continue to growing for the potential addition. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, global, when you talk to analysts from the rest of the world, they point out wind's limitation on land and location, and then say offshore would be one theoretical solution, but the economics of offshore are very challenging, more so with rising costs of capital. I think the last few years have really shattered a lot of offshore wind energy plans globally. And so I'm always wary when I put on my Global South hat that how much risk and burden would be for the Global South. Now, I think there's no debate in this room, energy security is a key. So if we look at this one leg of the transformation, the growing RE, and here when I use the word RE, I'll focus on wind and solar, intermittent RE or variable RE, because hydro is a well-known mature technology. It's more a finance and planning and socio-economic question as opposed to technology change and as much innovation required. So land obviously is one, intermittency and variable, and then the capital. These are the three global constraints. And of course, with the islands, the question becomes how self-sufficient or semi-self-sufficient can they become? So issues of microgrid planning or federated microgrid structures are possibly going to be key. India grew a lot of coal between 2011 and 2016. It enjoyed a surplus, which has now gone away to most extent. And 86% of the growth after that period has been variable RE in India, or non-fossil. And so, as Reggie pointed out in the morning, there was a fair amount of coordination to get standardization and so-called de-risking or risk reduction. Now, I don't like the term de-risking because one of the things that we've seen is most de-risking is risk transfer, especially to the distribution company, and from the distribution company it ends up going to the consumers. And so we have to be very careful how we think about who bears risk, and that's one of the important frameworks that there's some learnings, especially if we think of global, India's early journey towards deregulation with private sector participation actually involved sovereign counter guarantees for generators. 8 power plants were awarded in the 90s with sovereign counter guarantees, US dollar. I would question why any country would need or want to bear that centralized risk. So the other exercise that India is now doing, and I've seen just a snippet of the 24 to 2060 energy plan for Indonesia, and obviously planning is another key. But with that, there is also a realization we don't really know what a digitalized, enabled, flexible, with decentralized future really looks like. If you tell somebody or ask somebody what is a price elasticity of electricity for households, I don't think anybody knows, especially when the fundamental question we've seen in the West is how much is human-centric and how much is automated. Because if you rely on the human to participate, no human wants to look at an in-home display Now the new mantra is an app. Earlier we talked of in-home displays 15, 20 years ago. Now people say, well, you don't need an in-home display. You can get price signals on your phone. I don't know anybody who's sort of waiting to base their lifestyle around what signaling will be. So there's some amount of coordination, sort of signaling that should be standardized, automated, and EVs are the classic example. Most load for EV charging is overnight due to the duty cycle of many users. That obviously does not align with solar, which is a lot of the growth. And that's a significant challenge where we have to figure out how much is a pricing signal and how much is a controlled signal that will incentivize how much shift. I'm going to skip over relatively well-known things. Rooftop solar, of course, even at this conference we've been talking about standards. I don't know if Indonesia has either adopted the IEEE standards or modified them to their national standards norms. That's something that India has always done, taken either SIGRE or IEEE or many standards, IEC standards, sorry, not SIGRE, IEC standards, and tweaked them to become national standards. So typical tweakings in India are that you change the stress requirements, temperature requirements upon hardware, which is an obvious need. But otherwise, they're similar. So rooftop solar now at the policy and regulatory level, I believe, my understanding is there's very limited or low time of day price signaling in Indonesia. Is that correct? Consumers do not have TOD signals. And that will inevitably be one of the most important triangulations needed between supply, demand, incentives, and efficiency. We will be at a point, not today, but soon, where in the middle of the day we're throwing away power. It doesn't matter how much battery BESS you put on, putting up enough battery to avoid curtailment is not required as per most modeling. So you need some, but curtailment is the cheapest form. Oversizing renewables is actually the cheapest form of firming up your power. That's been the global experience worldwide. So TOD, how we do it, how it's regulated and incentivized is very key. But for especially India, and Indonesia also had it similarly over the years from what I've learned, there are multiple social welfare, social pricing objectives of who pays how much. So if I truly, just as an example what we've analyzed for India, if I give solar discount to align with solar for pricing, industrial prices will match and fall. Households have a lot of their demand that is not midday. It is actually morning, evening. And as air conditioning use would rise for households, it would be including overnight. Delhi, of course, sees that big time. And so that alignment is something that really needs simulation, modeling, and incentivization. So net metering has been the policy in India thus far. California has walked away or tried to stop net metering. They're incentivizing storage now for house rooftop solar or mandating it in certain cases. That's something that developing countries will have to get to because net metering incentivizes the system, but that cost is then often borne by the utility. So PLN bears that burden. Discoms in India bear that burden. EVs, Indonesia and India, unfortunately, have some of the brownest grids in the world. This is not a judgment. This is just a reality of what local resources are. India's had coal. The West, when they say we're decarbonizing, we have a paper coming out on this. Most of your decarbonizing in the power sector was not RE. It was switch to gas and a reduction in peak demand because it was so high that it came down. That option is not available to either India or Indonesia from reduction of demand. Indonesia does have some more gas capability. So that, unlike India, there is some play that's possible. But of course, the first step with Indonesia is looking at oil vis-a-vis gas would be the more early calculation on fuel switching requirements. So, yeah.
Just to add more information, actually, that apart from your shifting the demand, actually, for the coal, actually, Indonesia also, PLN, has done some effort to do to co-firing, to mix the coal with the biomass.
Biomass, yeah.
So right now, in its our generation is require at least 1% of their consumption should be coming from like sawdust, like any type of biomass, and it will be raised into 5 or 10% in the next coming year. So actually, I think it should be like an effort to reduce the fossil fuel consumption, actually like coal. So that's why that we mix with the biomass.
Absolutely. So NTPC has done that in some plants in India. But of course, if one wants to learn who's done the most, Western Europe and US have had co-firing of biomass for a long time. At an extreme level, the UK was importing biomass from Canada and US.
And Nordic countries.
Sorry?
And Nordic countries.
Yeah, because they don't have sufficient biomass to be...
Rahul, if I can add to what our Indonesian friend has said, co-firing, India also, we have Samarth mission, and in that 3 to 5% is mandatory co-firing, and we call it as a parali, because, and especially we focus on the plants which are in the vicinity of Delhi NCR area, because especially in the winter season and all, we face lot of pollution here in Delhi. So that is basically some of our neighboring states, they burn the crop residues because that is the easiest way of disposing that crop residue and then going for another crop pattern. So now I think roughly around 2000 or 2500 megawatt plants, NTPC plants of Dadri and nearby, they are already utilizing that co-firing through a pelletization process. That crop residue under torrefied mechanism, it gets converts into pellets, and then those pellets are being used as a source of fuel in addition with the coal in the boiler. And also this is a Samarth mission which Government of India has already taken up, and hopefully it will be replicated all through the coal-based plants. So in that way we have lot of similarities.
Yeah.
So,
but again, these are still a few percent. Let's
yes,
be
very
And
real.
also it brings the weighted heat rate down. So there are some trade-offs when you...
Absolutely.
In Canada, it has not been a success. So it's to be seen as to, A, you can't pulverize it the way you pulverize coal. So tangentially fired boilers can't take it that easy. It is like two different sciences coming towards one boiler. And so, but it's a good trial. I think India has done many good trials like this. So who knows, maybe they'll come up with
all
something
of the
else.
above. I mean,
Yeah.
if you ask me, the solution
Right.
is it's a portfolio approach that we will need. But if I think about biomass, even for the power sector, I think bioliquids have a huge potential, but with alternative technologies on the combustion side. It shouldn't be in a diesel generator alone. Spark engines, for example, can not only be more efficient, but also have much better start-stop capabilities. So that level of flexibility, and that's one of the buzzwords I would sort of put out, is we need systems that both enable but also incentivize or recognize flexibility as a value, and I'll come back to that. On the EVs, we've done some studies, as is, this is not rocket science, but the energy requirement of electrified mobility is modest. So by 2030, even as a bounding exercise for India, if all 2, 3, 4-wheelers and city buses become electric, so you ramp up from 2020, we modeled earlier, to 2030. So you get a certain stock. The total kWh or kilowatt hour impact is only in the order of 150 billion units, which would be in the order of 5-7% of the grid. That's a bounding exercise. We're not saying it'll happen. But the instantaneous hit on the grid, if everyone plugs in at the same time, and I'm not even talking about this new BYD battery that was just announced. The difference between instantaneous, simultaneous charging, Friday 7 p.m., and spreading out all your charging to the best theoretical possible spreading. So if I need a once in a week charging for 3 hours, then I can see that I get a 50x, 144 hours in a week spreading. It's 50 times. Is that differential impact to the grid, not 50%. So the truth will lie somewhere in between. So the question is, how is the planning, incentives, and pricing going to be to really enable something that's better for the grid and fair to the rest of the consumers, because the higher end vehicles are unfortunately coming from the rich. So all of our support mechanisms, that social welfare problem, we have to be cautious. Are we subsidizing the rich if we give support or incentives? But that's a very big deal, and that's of course something ISGF and many others have been focusing on, is this smartness needed. The other thing that's sort of hitting us when we talk to discoms, they're saying, yes, anyone can set up a charger, here are the rules. Well, at what size, what voltage, who's paying for it, incremental costs of new build. So you will have pockets where EVs hit is much worse on the local grid, because compared to a household load, your EV can easily dwarf it, especially now if we think faster charging. We're not even talking DC fast charging, but just AC fast charging could be much higher than the household load. So that's a challenge. So now people are saying, I need multi-megawatt for charging stations. That's a huge planning exercise, cost hit, and land even, and so forth. So with EVs, the other sort of lesson that India has been struggling with, it has policies towards public charging. It has regulated separate tariffs in most states for EVs, which are lower than average. It's an incentivizing tariff. Let's assume we don't worry about subsidy or cross-subsidy, but time of day is one challenge. Second is residential and retrofit. In India, at least, multi-dwelling units, sometimes 3-story houses like in Delhi, or apartments, which are common in Indonesia and India. Can you retrofit them? What are the safety norms? Apartment complexes, you get one lithium-ion fire and then everyone sort of says, not allowed, or take it outside. So they'll do. So what my apartment has is there are 4 shared high-speed charging units for all the consumers, only in a certain ground floor, not the basement. Basement, it is disallowed. They allow individual level charging stations, AC, not DC high speed. You want higher speed, it's by a third-party provider who's got the concession to do it. But what does that do is it question marks your V2G capability. So these all interactions between policies of housing and incentive and TOD, all of these come together in how we need to think about the planning. And the last thing, I'll close, is on money. Finance. Money talks. It's not the last, it's the last word. Everyone says that we need these transitions and it has a bunch of investment. And there are multiple numbers we've all seen in the trillions we talk about for transition. But my belief, again, it's a bias. Money is not the bottleneck. If we get the frameworks right, money will come or can come. And the homework for all of this will come starting from the utility, where the utility figures out what do I need, how much do I need, by when, where. And then we figure out, well, which type of fuel, which types of technologies, which types of communication, for example, for smart meter. I like, of course, the Tata Power one of being a comms agnostic. Australia did the same, where they actually had a NIC, network interface system, that you could just swap out. You can just pull out that part and put in an upgrade. And that's really key, because in India, for example, the original spec for smart meters started with 3G SIMs. 3Gs are dead. 4G has a finite life ahead of it. You want your metrology to last you 1 to 2 decades. The smarts evolve at a much smarter pace. So how we modularize our systems, I think, is a key part of the architecture that we need to do. But coming back to the money, when we talk to folks, and I was the chair of the Clean Energy Finance Forum working group on policy that the Power Minister had requested. Global capital, everyone says, look, if we could only get the pension funds, the Norway, the big money that's getting only a 2% rate of return-ish for some of them, sovereign funds. If they could just fund the transition, it's a win-win. But they're not jumping into Indonesia or India's power sector. Because patient capital, which is what you need, lower rate of return, wants governance, predictability, stability before they worry about rate of return. And so that's where finalizing on standards, specifications, and incentive structures is really the key glue that brings it together. And lastly, related to that, we have to rethink how we think of electricity. One, electricity is an enabler of services. So the service and value add model is going to be key. People want mobility, people want light, people want heat or cool. Second, we have to go beyond kilowatt hour. So one is just TOD, that's well known, but also ancillary services, flexibility. How do I incentivize and value flexibility? How do I socialize costs that are there for a high RE grid? As you get RE, as RE's share in your grid grows, the marginal cost of integration rises and the marginal value declines. So that's a very key challenge where we have to come up with pricing and incentive instruments that incentivize sharing risk. And I'll give a very simple example. Curtailment of RE. In Germany, I think last year, or was it the year before, in pockets, in certain DSOs, 10% plus was curtailed. In the US in 2020, in RE-rich regions, a quarter of the hours had negative prices. We're not there yet, but it's something we have to figure out. So if I have to curtail, who do I curtail? Marginal price is zero for all VRE. So therefore, I cannot use pricing signal for choosing who to curtail. It should ideally be a technical analysis of the grid that this congestion point, your plant, is the best one to curtail. But it's always going to be yours. So they need to be compensated, or the state with that contract needs compensation, because a lot of these risks are systemic risks and national level risks, or grid level risks, I would call it. Another sort of area that India's been working on, and of course as has Indonesia, is on capacity, human capacity. This isn't just more people. Like in the US, they're already struggling. They've said we don't have enough electricians to install the clean tech needed. Of course, labor is more plentiful in Indonesia and India, but it's the right skills. And this goes to the regulatory framework. I mean, Indonesia, I believe, does not yet have an independent electricity regulator. It's through the ministry. So one of the things people discuss is you may need an independent regulator, mainly because what the independent regulator should be able to do is take a call on how to balance the multiple objectives, especially through prices, which are under their purview. But now you need regulators. So engineers have to understand economics, economists have to understand technology, policymakers have to understand all of the above. So that is the real fundamental challenge that all countries are grappling with to this. Planning gets hit. So in Indonesia, like India, there's a lot of captive power. Last minute, captive power for coal plants at least has some visibility. So in Indonesia, that's been a high growth area. As soon as we now talk behind the meter, then it becomes much harder to get visibility and planning. And not today, but over time that share is going to become measurable. So we have to not think about electricity like a basket of fruit, 5 rupees a kilo, 5 rupees a kilowatt hour, but really think of it as a basket that has a mango, a banana, watermelon, different fruits, different prices, different characteristics, different ramping, different control, predictability, and signal it more efficiently. Thank you.
Thanks. You have a presentation as well, or do you want to just discuss your points?
I want to.
Yeah, please. Okay, go ahead. We just have 20 minutes left, so we just have to hurry up here.
Thank you, Mr. Rahul. It's very interesting. The one that interesting for me is about solar rooftop. Maybe I just want to share, but in the end I will ask your opinion. In Indonesia, we have a new regulation that stated that excess electricity from solar rooftop will be no longer considered into export import. So there will be no feed-in tariff in Indonesia. But in the end, it discourage the people to install solar rooftop in their home. In the other hand, solar rooftop offers great opportunity because basically the investment cost is on not in the utility. The solar power plant investment cost is not in utility but in the customer. So it offers a great saving for us. Actually, if we put electricity tariff feed-in into solar rooftop, we have a dilemma. We call it a rooftop dilemma because basically we subsidize, we give incentive to the rich people, the one who can afford solar PV, pay less than the ordinary people. As a scholar, what is your opinion, and do you think what is the best option for a country in regards of solar rooftop? Thank you.
This is a question that all countries have grappled with. I mean, the pioneer of feed-in tariff was Germany, and they have moved away. The whole world owes a thank you to Germany because Germany paid heavily for rooftop solar through feed-in. And that is exactly why countries are now scared, because in 2019, 1/4 of your electricity bill in Germany was EEG surcharge. 1/4. And that's basically paying for the renewables, which were promised at a very, comfortable rate to the consumer to put in this. Now, what happened in Germany, of course, is that grew market interest of suppliers to the point that China said, oh, okay, let me start sending to Germany and then Spain and other countries who were willing to pay that burden of feed-in. And then the whole world has been enjoying, quote unquote, Chinese manufacturing capabilities and cheap prices. But I mean, I'd love to also hear from Nick and many others who've looked at this, but there's no one answer, but I can give some contours that we've seen. The first is, at an extreme bound, if I actually signaled the marginal value of electricity with the time of day, then I wouldn't need to take a call of gross versus net and all of these. Now, the moment I do that, a couple of things will happen. First, if I'm a utility, I have to balance between localized impact versus grid scale impact. Grid scale solar will typically be cheaper. Household will give local benefits of infrastructure level. But most households still feed in on average. It's very rare that people size it only to their midday requirements. And so ultimately the call has to be taken is, what do I do with that surplus power? That is the story of RE. You build a wind plant, it'll have seasonality. Solar itself has a little bit of seasonality, but being equator, less so in Indonesia. But even daily fluctuation will be ups and downs. So how I value the varying both cost of RE and value of RE is going to be the most important question that needs a lot of analysis. There are different models that have been taken. Europe is looking at CFDs for converting the volatility into more firm contract for differences systems. At another extreme, in some countries, and India has a guidance towards this, is that rooftop solar consumers should be now adding a battery. It's not a law yet, it's a guidance to move towards. But that's a cost, which is now being pushed else to a different set of consumers. I personally think we shouldn't be over-incentivizing it at a level that then hurts the utility or the poor. So we need to find that balance of which type of solar. But we also really should focus not on the supply side, but the demand side. A lot of the solar story, and all RE story, is going to come from trying to get people to increase their consumption in the middle of the day. That's something we haven't had to do. We've always treated everything as a supply problem. the demand side of that story is going to be both critically important, but also exciting, where IT and technology is going to play a huge role, both through semi-automation, also, innovative technologies, pre-cooling. So once you say the word pre-cooling for air conditioning to last you through the evening, you have to redo building design codes with thermal envelope considerations that no one ever thought about. So if you can't solve a problem, make it larger.
So let me answer this in two ways. In Ontario, we were the second ones to follow Germany. We've had changes in the government. Our premier was kicked out. Now our prime minister is going to resign on account of all this. So the key question is, at what point does technology become a burden on the policy? So up to about 30-35%, there was a big incentive. So solar was promoted, feed-in tariff was there for wind. In fact, we have feed-in tariff for wind. But all of a sudden, that entire public opinion just changed when the bills started rising on the GRA side. So the promise of a cheaper energy became a burden on the fixed cost. And so all these great leaders suddenly just fell flat. So you need to be very careful as to how you will promote it. At what point would you say enough is enough? There's enough of policy papers about how the West did not do certain things correctly from the Brattle Group. Brattle Group has written tons of this. So it was not just United States, there's Germany, Canada, we all got hammered. So be very, very careful as to how you would introduce something, because you can't take it back. On the policy side, very hard to take it back. So you have to give that signal way ahead that up to maybe 30% of DT or on some whatever policy you have. And after that, it'll stop. You make it so transparent that everybody knows, like he had in his slide. We actually in Ontario, I had it when I was in the utility back then. We used to make it so transparent, we knew every DT when it was coming green, yellow, red. After that, we told people you can't even come and connect it. So just as a caution, I'm not saying it is. So feed-in tariff may have a place. I'm not saying it doesn't. But at some point, you need a sunset, and that sunset has got to be set early so that everybody knows when you will set the sun on the feed-in tariff. So, yeah.
This is a problem that we had. Government has said that 10 million homes will come with solar rooftop. The policy has been made, it's being put up everywhere. The problem is, in order to increase participation, it has allowed single-phase consumers. In India, it was a standard unwritten law. BIS had stated that in its minutes, and then CEO also followed that. Single-phase consumer has a single-phase charger. A polyphase consumer has a polyphase charger. They have allowed single-phase chargers in polyphase consumers as well, capped it with 300 units. Now, how do you calculate the 300 units? Is it even once in a year they qualify? Average they qualify? But the problem is, as you were saying, that we have to understand the other thing, that technology becoming a burden on policy. What happens is, with this, once you start putting it up, 30% consumers on single phase, however much you rotate them, there will be unbalanced loads.
Huge penalties due to
unbalanced loads is another management issue in a nation where we supply electricity, as sir was saying, 16 lakh of our consumers out of 21 lakhs, 1.6 million out of 2.1 million consumers of mine do not pay the bill for 2 months. They are subsidized to that extent. Now, over there you will have that delta cost, which you are saying, of serving a consumer matters. And yes, there are multiple.
Yeah, there's intervention here. I have to close at 1 because I've got a session at 2. So, yeah.
So, sir, as what you have said, so I have worked around 1.5 decades in a regulatory commission as a policy maker itself. So there is a very thin line where a regulatory commission means basically, I don't know about Indonesia, means here everything is regulated. Generation, transmission, distribution, everything is deeply regulated if we talk about. So we have to balance interest of all the stakeholders. Now coming on to the energy which is getting lapsed, that surplus energy at the end of financial year, many regulatory commissions in India, they have adjusted with a feed-in tariff because to promote the interest of the consumers to install a rooftop solar. Then how do you balance the interest of a DISCOM? The whole renewable energy generated by a consumer before the meter at gross level, that is attributed to their renewable purchase obligation. Indonesia, I don't think that numbers are a law, but here the numbers are law. Like 25% if RPO is there, that 25% has to be met by a DISCOM, and if they are not meeting it, penalty is being imposed. So a consumer installing a rooftop is reducing its electricity bill, definitely, but they are also helping DISCOM in meeting their renewable purchase obligation. But as what sir has rightly told, now here in Power Foundation, I have moved here recently. It is a think tank of MOP, and we are working on various assignments and facilitating ministry on some decision making. And in one of such assignments, the concerned assignment of today, if we talk about a small thing, what is the real cost of renewable energy in India? We are talking 2.5 rupees per unit discovered tariff by SECI, 3 rupees per unit. But are we factoring the integration cost, which is bringing at par with coal? The pump storage cost is there, or battery storage cost is there. So where that 2.5 rupees will go? And not only this integration cost, RE, I don't know about Indonesia, but here in our country, like so many policy measures, so many not only financial measures but regulatory measures are also being provided as a promotional measures. Like must-won status is there. Even a low-cost coal-based plant can be backed down, and RE can be injecting power into the grid. Then we have waiver of transmission charges. That is one of the biggest waiver that is being allowed to our renewable energy system. So we are working on a thing which is called what is the real cost of renewable energy, factoring the externalities cost also. Like we have to factor environmental cost as a negative attribute to a coal plant, but we have to also factor as the integration cost as a positive attribute to a RE. Then and only then we can have a comparative per unit of fossil fuel and a non-fossil fuel. So which one is better?
At a simplified level,
We got it really.
LCOE. We shouldn't use LCOE as the
Right.
measure.
Yes.
It's a system-wide
System-wide cost.
I'm sorry to put you under the gun here, but I believe you have a talk to give. To the extent that you would like to complete it, please. Yeah.
Maybe just give some insight about why we need some smart grid. Actually, not smart grid end-to-end, because partly because our VRE right now is still under 1 gigawatt, still pretty small compared with India. But since that our CEO has already committed that the PLN would explore until 28 gigawatt until 2040, so that's why that we need smart grid end-to-end. So smart grid end-to-end is, we redefine smart grid end-to-end is the integration between the smart power plant, smart transmission, smart control system, and smart distribution. So in smart power plant, apart that, beside that we are doing some digitalization in our power plant, we also should provide the flexible generation. Right now that our current composition of the flexibles, picker unit, fallout follower, and base load is still mostly dominated by the base load with the coal. And load, I think that base load until like 10%. So that's why that we still striving toward how to increase our load follower and picker composition. So that's why by providing more flexible generations. And also that for the control system, actually that right now that we are to do some grid modernization. So we have old-fashioned control center, but it is not yet anticipate the VRE penetration. So that's why that right now that we still upgrading our control center. That to be the one like the India right now, we will have some smart control center that consists of main control and DRC. And since that our system is islands, not one single continent like India, but we are like island, just like maybe like from Korea and Japan. So that's why that in the future, after we develop our smart control center in Java, Bali, in Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, we will develop the National Control Center. National Control Center will be located, our planning in our new capital city in Kalimantan, Borneo. So that's why that we still consider how to develop the supergrid between inter-island across submarine using submarine cable. So that's our challenge, and also that apart from the challenge about the cybersecurity and also that energy security, so that's we are trying to integrate with the transmission submarine cable because our renewable energy resources mostly located in the out of the Jawa, Bali. So that's why we need some interconnections. And for distributions, actually that we also have planned to transform from DNO to DSO, distribution operator. That's why that we are trying to modernize our control center, distribution control center, to be ADMS, and also that we improve our infrastructure as well. So that's why that we will have deploy our piloting in Bali. Actually, that we will have some 100% of smart meter in the next few years, and we also seem that our system is isolated, more than 100 isolated system. So that we are going to build some smart microgrid in each island. So that's why that we'll try to combine between hybrid, mixed diesel, and photovoltaic PV hybrid. So that's why that it's kind of unique in Indonesia, because we have to make some grand design how to fulfill the electricity in not only in the bulk power system in the big island, but also in the isolated system. And lastly, about the EV, actually that right now that we have built about more than 3,000 EV charging stations. But I think this is not enough right now, because that's why that we are continue to grow, and in the next 2030, and I think that we are going to build more than 50,000 EV charging station. But I think this is not sufficient. That's why that we innovate to build the charging station using our pole tower, distribution tower. So actually that we already have piloting, and we have installed some charger in using our own asset. So that's why that hopefully that it will accelerate our EV charging station, because government has already mandated to PLN to accelerate the EV charging stations. So that's the importance of how we should having the smart grid end-to-end, and I think that is a long journey right now. In fact, that right now that me and PLN also supervise to develop the grand design roadmap first before we deploy its initiative in generation, transmission, distribution, and until retail. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on this gentleman's question?
There's one more.
Oh, you have.
Not a comment on this.
Okay.
Pak Madin nggak mau bicara, Pak Madin?
You can say.
Yeah.
If you have any question.
Yeah, give the Indonesians a chance to say first, and then we'll. Okay. Yeah.
Allow me to perhaps give some update information about Indonesia.
Sure.
And I think this will be very interesting if we know that we have a new government since November last year, and they have a program which firstly they would like to follow the previous program of energy transition financed by multilateral through so-called Just Energy Transition Partnership. But lately, with the quitting of United States, of course, the source of this fund is questionable. Even though Japan and EU has already stated that they are continuing to support this. And they come with a new concept of sovereign wealth fund. So Indonesia has created sovereign wealth fund, and all big state-owned enterprise has been consolidated under this SCWF, we call it Danantara, and which accumulated the asset of more than, how much?
as the amount of the asset is 900 billion US dollar around. So government expect that with this consolidation of asset, it will be more easier to attract investment to Indonesia. But there's perception that governments now is still struggling with a power shift, yeah? And therefore there are some lapse in the regulation. Well, we in the technical side would expect that storage will be proceed, yeah, BSS, but we cannot make a business case because regulation is not complete there. So this situation added, especially with India, we have an imbalance trade. Indonesia export more than $2,000 billion to India, while India only export $400 million. So this is a big opportunity actually for India with all this advancement in technology, etc., to enter into Indonesian market. Yeah. And of course, explanation on PLN provide you, guide you which part of electricity sector will require technological advancement and support. Especially also because the regulation is not there, you need to enhance the regulation as well. So I think this is the best opportunity for ISGF and Smart Grid Indonesia to cooperate, because then we can make a network on how we are able to balance the trade as well as advancing the energy sector in Indonesia. Those require strategy to penetrate and a lot of information exchange among us. I think that will be our immediate potential for cooperation in the future. I guess that's explain what current situation in Indonesia.
Thank you. Is it really burning? Okay, if it's not burning, we'll leave it. Okay. Yeah, so let me try to close. We are 10 minutes past the time. There are 3 or 4 observations, and I think in a way all of us are echoing it in different experiences. There is no one size fits all. The later you come to the game doesn't mean that you can copy paste somebody's success. You got to walk through the swamp yourself to some extent. But there are 3 or 4 areas that have come relatively successful the world over. If you are very clear in your policy as to what you would like to do with the 5 years horizon, and if the government is stable enough to protect you, then there are things that you could do, but you must have a sunset clause for each side so transparent so that the public realizes, as opposed to saying it is my right, because that's what's happening in other parts of the world. It's not a continuous line to infinity that you have. But if you take the bulk power, if let's say if one of the objectives is to increase Indonesia's real, solar by 3,000 megawatts, think before the meter as opposed to behind the meter. Behind the meter is retail, people's promotions, people's, they'll drag you slowly, and therefore you may find that you're struggling even after 7-8 years. And I didn't want to answer his question on Delhi, why rooftop is not being taken. But it's been analyzed here before, why it is not being taken. But whereas if you go for before the meter in large areas of barren land, we have examples. In fact, that gentleman who was a contractor, India has got enough of EPC contractors to work with your contractors. And we have put, even in the L&T board that I used to sit, 1,000 megawatts one location, 2 years, solar. So if you want to really expand into, let's say, 10,000 megawatts of solar as a policy, and it's very clearly articulated. The Koreans have done it, the others have done it. It is faster to move that way to get your numbers up. But if you get into the wrong side of the game, behind the meter, then expect a lot of slogging, It's not easy. Number 2, when I hear these 2 folks, At 11% or 9% growth, if your DTs are already going to go to 90, 95%, I can tell you the DTs require cooling at night every day. You can't have a plant load factor at 90, 95% for ROA purposes and expect somehow everything will work very nicely. So somewhere down the line, the equipment is going to rule you because of technology and not because what the policy people want. In my career, I have told once, the electron behaves as per electromagnetic theory, not because the minister says. And so at some point, you have to be very careful as to, and you have an obligation, in fact, to draw that line consistently with policymakers as to why certain things cannot go the way they want it and what are the costs. So there's enough of examples as to what is called incremental and how you should do it with no, as Rahul mentioned, you get a lot of benefits for lower costs. After that, you're struggling to get your benefits because you've hit that threshold. So ISGF has done a study on the DT side for the 40 gigawatts of solar on the DT side, and as to why certain points will go and get it hit and it will not be able to go up. And that's just because the investments will be just huge, trying to go to 50-60% of a DT because you'll have voltage fluctuations, all kinds of issues come up at that point. So now you really need a very, very smart infrastructure just for some objective that you want. Okay, that's number one. Number two, this is politics, and maybe you shouldn't even record this. Is my personal view. Okay, my personal view. We are in a big influx of a change thanks to Mr. Trump. I don't think the world knows where we are headed. I don't think the next COP meeting may be a complete reversal of what all has happened in the past. So India, Indonesia with its coal, you got fuel security. Don't take the ball off of that. It was very nice for somebody to have thought whatever it thought, but you need to in the end understand that you have to run a nation and you have to run the nation cheap. And so it may very well be you may have to educate the public policy people as to why certain things cannot go beyond what they think. On the island side, let me tell you, and I've been pushing this young man here for a long time. He has not been listening to me. Right? You have a big scope with that islands that you have. With IRENA, SIDS program, and other areas. If you really want to go and show the world what you have done, start on the smaller side with the islands. Do the big ones on the Kalimantan, on the Java side. You can connect to the Sarawak, if you want to get integration. Those are the big jobs. On the small side, if you want to showcase what you have done, start with your islands on the solar side. On the wind, there was a discussion when he had invited me to Indonesia. You have a problem with wind offshore as well unless you go very high up. And this was actually discussed in that roundtable that time. So I'm not saying don't go wind, but be careful that when you spend that kind of money with all the projects being closed in the United States, the so-called cost issues, you may be running into a problem that somebody else started something and then now you can't finish it off. It's not easy to just put offshore wind and make it financially viable. So with that, I would like to, yeah.
Can I give an optimistic one lesson? I agree with everything you've said. And the challenges will get there, but it's a journey. The good news that we've seen is, even though you will get to a point where you've got to rethink your grid, transmission requirements will be a cost, you'll need large amount of battery. There's still a lot to be done before we get to that point of pain.
Correct.
So figure out what's holding us back. Like you use the analogy of small island to big island, figure out those steps that are lower hanging fruit. The amount of RE that India wants by 2030 is so large that you will need huge amounts of storage, you will need big transformation. But we're not even adding that amount today that is quote unquote viable without large storage. So figuring out those things, what's holding us back? It's institutional, finance, discom, a whole bunch of things, incentive structures, awareness, planning, all of these things. That's where the homework will be invaluable, regardless of what that journey takes you on. So I think there's a lot that can be done. I'm cognizant of the challenges, but at the same time optimistic that we can always keep moving forward, and then technology will also improve and take us further. Thank you.
Good. So if there are no further questions or comments or any rebuttals from, yeah. Yeah, I'll take it offline. And, or any criticism to what I just said. It's fair. If you think I didn't speak correctly. That's fine. But you have to be blunt because this is a big investment game. The electricity business is not cheap. A small mistake can cost hundreds and millions for 25 years. So better be careful as to what we are all doing sometimes. So anyway, with that, I thank you all very much. And we can still continue the discussions, but I've got to run. So I'll run. Okay, thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I now request to our chair to present mementos to our speakers and presenters. Sorry, from here, there only, sir. No issue. I request you first, Mr. Anshuman Srivastava. Now I request Mr. Subhadip Raychaudhuri. Mr. Pramod Mishra. Mr. Rahul Tongia. Mr. Addy. Mr. A.S. Kuswaha. Mr. Himanshu Chawla. Mr. Dimas. Mr. Sunil Sharma. Mr. Madeline. And now I request Mr. Anshuman Srivastava to present a memento to our chair, Mr. Ravi Seethapathy. Thank you all. And now I request you to for a group photograph on the stage.